Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be diving deep into an event that really, I think, changed the course of history. The Fall of Constantinople in 1453.
Yeah, this is an event that has captured the imagination of historians and really the public for centuries,
Yeah.
for good reason. I mean, it's not just a military defeat.
Right.
It's really a seismic shift in the global landscape. We're talking about the end of the Byzantine Empire and the rise of a new power on the scene, the Ottoman Turks.
Absolutely. And, we're so lucky to have this incredible interview with Professor Mark David Baer to help us unpack all
Oh
this.
yeah, his book, The
Yeah.
Ottomans, Khans, Caesars, and Caliphs,
Yeah.
is just a fantastic resource for understanding this period. And what he does so well is he goes beyond just like the battles and the dates and really gets into like the human drama of it all.
Right. Like, what was it like to be, a citizen in Constantinople at this time?
Yeah, exactly. You've got this city steeped in history and tradition facing this, incredibly powerful enemy. And the people there are clinging to hope, clinging to prophecies as this young, ambitious sultan sets his sights on conquest.
And speaking of that Sultan, Mehmed II, he's quite a figure.
Oh, he's fascinating.
Professor Baer portrays him as this driven, almost like Shakespearean character,
Yeah,
wrestling with the legacy of his father
yeah.
and determined to carve out his own place in history.
He really is this study in contrast. I mean, on one hand, you have this ruthless military leader
Yeah.
orchestrating a brutal siege. He's deploying cutting-edge weaponry.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you have this man who, upon entering the conquered city, is said to have wept at the sight of its destruction.
Oh, yeah. That's the part that always gets me.
Yeah.
Like, was it remorse? Was it a calculated show of humility? Or, was it something else entirely?
I mean, it's a question that historians still debate to this day, but it speaks to the complex motivations that were at play here. I mean, for Mehmed, it wasn't just about, territorial expansion.
Right.
He saw himself as a successor to the Roman Caesars, the rightful heir to a legacy that stretched back centuries.
Yeah, so Constantinople wasn't just a military target. It was almost like a symbolic.
Absolutely. It was a statement.
Yeah.
It was reclaiming a glorious past.
Yeah. And by this point, Constantinople itself is a shadow of its former glory.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Professor Baer mentions the population had dwindled down to about 50,000 people,
Right.
which is a far cry from its bustling, height.
It's this once mighty city reduced to almost like a lonely outpost facing this unstoppable force.
It really makes you wonder, how did the Byzantines themselves perceive this whole situation?
That's a great question. I mean, surrounded by enemies,
Yeah.
they're seeing what they believe to be signs and omens of doom.
Right.
Did they really believe they could hold out? Or was there this sense of inevitability, like, this is it, this is the end?
Well, Professor Baer talks about visions of angels, miraculous swords appearing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost as if they were desperately seeking some kind of divine intervention.
And, they did receive some support from the West.
Right, but it was nowhere near enough.
Nowhere near enough to match the Ottoman forces.
And that's a really important point,
Yeah.
because Constantinople held so much symbolic importance for Christians.
Oh, absolutely.
It was this bastion of faith against Islam,
Right.
and yet they were largely left to fend for themselves.
And that's a testament to the political and religious divisions within Christendom at the time?
Yeah, so you have these two contrasting forces, right?
Yeah.
A declining empire clinging to hope, and then this rising power fueled by ambition and this religious zeal.
Right. And at the heart of it all is
Yeah.
Constantinople. It controls crucial trade routes. It holds this, special place in the imaginations of both Christians and Muslims.
And that's where Mehmed's strategic brilliance really comes into play.
Yeah,
I mean, he wasn't content to just rely on brute force.
No, he had a plan.
Yeah.
And it was a multifaceted plan. It starts with the construction of the fortress of Rumilahizar.
Now, Rumilahizar, for those who aren't familiar, can you
Mhm.
explain the significance of this?
So Rumilahizar is built on the European side of the Bosphorus Strait.
Okay.
And essentially what it does is it chokes off Constantinople's supply lines.
Wow.
It was a calculated move to weaken the city before the main assault even began.
So he's laying siege from both land and sea.
Exactly. And speaking of the sea,
Yeah.
Professor Baer talks about this incredible feat of engineering
Oh, yeah.
where the Ottomans actually transport their warships over land to bypass the defensive chain across the Golden Horn.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, the Golden Horn, this natural harbor, was
Yeah.
a crucial part of Constantinople's defenses. It was blocked by a massive chain.
Right.
But Mehmed, he comes up with this plan to move his ships over land using greased logs, sheer manpower. I mean, it must have been a logistical nightmare,
I bet.
but it worked.
I mean, can you imagine seeing that? Warships being dragged across land.
It must have been a sight to behold.
What do you think that did for the morale of the defenders?
Oh, I mean, it must have been a huge blow. It's like, the impossible is now possible for Mehmed and his forces.
Yeah, it's almost like an omen.
It is.
And then, of course, there's the cannon.
Ah, yes.
The basilica.
This is a beast.
The largest cannon the world had ever seen.
Yeah, designed specifically to break down those supposedly impenetrable walls of Constantinople.
Right.
I mean, this thing was a technological marvel, capable of launching these massive stone balls that could just pulverize fortifications.
Yeah, this is a symbol of Ottoman military might.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure a source of terror for the people inside the city.
Oh, yeah.
Professor Baer describes the siege itself lasting for 54 days.
Grueling 54 days.
Yeah, a brutal back and forth. Heavy losses on both sides.
And when you read his account,
Yeah.
you can almost hear the cannons booming, the clash of swords. You can almost feel the desperation of the defenders.
Yeah, it really brings that visceral reality of this historical event home.
It does.
It reminds us that history isn't just about dates and names.
Right.
It's about the lived experiences of real people.
Real people facing these extraordinary circumstances, their courage, their fear, their sacrifices.
And unfortunately, those experiences often involved immense suffering.
Yeah. Professor Baer doesn't shy away from that.
No.
He describes the violence that followed the fall of the city,
Right?
the looting, the brutality that often gets glossed over in, sort of the grand narratives.
Yeah, it's a dark side to victory
Absolutely.
that we can't ignore.
And it's a reminder that even the most momentous events are often accompanied by these tragedies, these losses that leave lasting scars.
Yeah, and it's easy to get caught up in, the grand narratives of empires and conquerors.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to remember the human cost.
Right.
The individual stories.
The individual stories that are woven into these events.
Yeah.
It's crucial.
Absolutely. And what I find really interesting is that even despite the brutality of the siege, Mehmed seemed to have this vision for Constantinople that went beyond just conquest.
Yes. He didn't want to just raze it to the ground.
Right. He wanted to revive
He
it.
sought to transform it into this thriving capital of his new empire.
So he's building on the city's past.
Exactly.
He's not trying to erase it.
Yeah, he's layering Ottoman influence onto the existing Byzantine foundations.
Yeah, and this wasn't about creating a purely Islamic city.
No.
It was about forging something new, something uniquely Ottoman.
Exactly. And you see that reflected in Mehmed's architectural projects.
Okay.
I mean, he commissions the construction of mosques.
Of course.
But he also oversees the restoration of churches and synagogues.
Wow.
He's sending a clear message here.
Yeah.
Tolerance and inclusion.
That's pretty remarkable.
It is.
I mean, for a conqueror.
Especially one who came to power through such brutal conflict.
Exactly.
It suggests a level of pragmatism that we don't always associate with military leaders.
No, and it really challenges that simplistic narrative of a clash of civilizations that, we often hear about this period.
Right. The reality, as Professor Baer points out, is far more nuanced.
Yeah.
There was conflict, but there was also cooperation, exchange, blending of cultures.
It makes you wonder, what role did Mehmed envision for Constantinople within this expanding empire?
Right. Was it simply a symbol of conquest? Or did he see it as something more?
Like a bridge between East and West.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's likely he saw it as both.
Yeah.
Constantinople's location, controlling these vital trade routes, made it an economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
But it also held this immense symbolic value.
Right.
It represented the Ottomans' arrival as a major player on the world stage.
And the Ottomans weren't shy about projecting that power.
Oh, no.
Professor Baer details their expansion into the Red Sea.
Yeah.
The conquest of Cairo, Mecca, Medina. They even pushed as far as Indonesia.
This is a vast empire.
It's mind-boggling to think that this one event, the fall of a single city, could have such a ripple effect across the globe.
And it highlights the interconnectedness of the world even back then.
Yeah, even back then.
Right.
And, it's fascinating to think about this because Professor Baer points out that the Ottomans actually saw themselves as successors to the Roman Empire.
They did.
They adopted the title of Caesar.
Yeah.
They incorporated Byzantine administrative practices.
Right.
They really viewed themselves as heirs to this grand tradition of imperial rule.
It wasn't just about conquering territory.
Yeah.
It was about claiming a legacy.
Right.
positioning themselves within this historical continuum.
Wow.
They were consciously engaging with the past, reinterpreting it, weaving it into their own narrative.
So there wasn't this clean break between the Byzantine and Ottoman eras.
Not at all.
It's more complex than that.
Much more complex.
It's a transition
It is.
with elements of continuity
Yeah.
alongside all this change.
And that complexity is also evident in the cultural realm.
Okay.
You know, Constantinople under Ottoman rule becomes this vibrant melting pot of cultures and religions.
Okay.
Now, Islam was the dominant faith, but Christian and Jewish communities continued to thrive.
Wow. So it wasn't this sort of monolithic, religious landscape.
No, it was diverse.
Yeah, Professor Bear talks about the bustling markets, the diverse neighborhoods, all these intellectual exchanges taking place,
It was a cosmopolitan atmosphere.
which is quite different from how we often imagine, a sort of rigid Islamic society.
Right, and this cosmopolitanism extended to the ruling class as well.
Okay.
The Ottoman elite embraced aspects of Byzantine culture.
Mm.
They incorporated them into their own traditions and practices.
Yeah, so it was assimilation and adaptation
Exactly.
rather than, just erasing everything.
Yeah.
And, this reminds me of that detail about Mehmed weeping upon entering the city.
Yeah.
It seems to fit with this pattern of acknowledging and even respecting the past, even while, forging ahead with this new vision.
It suggests a certain level of sensitivity and even empathy on Mehmet's part.
Yeah, which is not what you'd expect from, a conqueror known for his ruthlessness.
Right. It's one of those things that reminds you history is full of surprises,
Yeah,
that even the most seemingly straightforward narratives often have these layers of complexity and contradiction.
exactly.
And speaking of contradictions,
Yeah,
we can't overlook the fact that the fall of Constantinople also had its share of negative consequences,
of course.
particularly for the perception of Muslims in the West.
Right. Professor Bear talks about the fleeing Byzantine scholars
Yeah.
who painted a very negative picture of the Ottomans.
And that contributed to the development of stereotypes and prejudices that unfortunately have persisted for centuries.
Yeah, it's a reminder of how history can be weaponized,
Absolutely.
how narratives can be shaped
Right.
to serve particular agendas.
And often at the expense of nuance and understanding.
It's a sobering reminder of the importance of critical thinking,
Oh, yeah.
especially when we're encountering historical narratives that seem to fit a little too neatly into preconceived notions.
Absolutely. We have to be wary of these simplistic explanations that reduce complex events to this clash of civilizations or religions.
Right, because the reality is always far more nuanced
Always.
and multifaceted.
Yes. And even as the fall of Constantinople cast this long shadow of fear and misunderstanding,
Yeah.
it also led to increased interaction and exchange between East and West.
Right, because the Ottoman Empire, with Constantinople as its capital, now controlled these vital trade routes.
Right.
And the European merchants were eager to access the riches of the East.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this economic imperative
Yeah.
drove increased contact, which
Yeah.
led to a gradual shift in perceptions, at least among some segments of European society.
So even as some clung to these old fears and prejudices,
Yeah.
others were developing a more nuanced understanding
Yeah.
of the Ottoman world, its culture, its people.
It's a reminder that history is rarely a simple story of progress or decline. It's this messy, often contradictory process of interaction, adaptation, and change.
And the story of Constantinople embodies that complexity perfectly.
It does.
It's a story of conquest, yeah,
Of course.
but also of transformation,
Yeah.
cultural exchange, and the emergence of new ideas.
And new perspectives.
Yeah,
It's a story that continues to resonate with us today,
it does.
challenging us to think critically about the past
No.
and its enduring legacies.
I think that's a perfect place to pause for today.
Yeah.
We've journeyed through the siege, witnessed the fall, and explored the immediate aftermath.
We've seen how Constantinople began to transform under Ottoman rule.
And in our next part, we'll delve even deeper into the long-term consequences of this pivotal event.
Yeah, we're going to explore its impact on the Renaissance,
Right, yeah.
development of global trade.
The evolution of East-West relations.
It's a story that's far from over.
So be sure to join us next time as we continue our deep dive into the fall of Constantinople.
We'll see you then.
Take care. Picking up where we left off last time, we talked about the siege, the fall, the human cost of it all. But now I really want to get into what happened after.
Yeah, because the story of Constantinople, it doesn't end in 1453.
Right.
It's really just the beginning of a new chapter.
A new chapter under Ottoman rule.
Exactly.
And it's fascinating to see how Mehmed II approached this.
It really is. I mean, he had a vision for the city and he set about implementing it with remarkable speed and efficiency.
Yeah, Professor Baer talks about how Mehmed immediately began repopulating the city,
Yeah.
inviting people from all corners of his empire.
Yeah, he wasn't just trying to replace the lost inhabitants.
Right.
It was this deliberate strategy to create a diverse and vibrant population.
And it wasn't just about the numbers either.
No, he actively encouraged trade and craftsmanship, offering tax breaks and other incentives to attract merchants, artisans, scholars.
He understood that a thriving economy was going to be key to Constantinople's resurgence.
Absolutely.
So he's not erasing the city's past.
No,
He's building on it.
he's layering those Ottoman influences onto the existing Byzantine foundations.
Yeah, it's not about creating a purely Islamic city.
Oh,
It's about forging something new, something uniquely Ottoman.
exactly. And you see that reflected in his architectural projects as well.
How so?
Well, I mean, he commissions the construction of mosques, of course.
Right.
But he also oversees the restoration of churches and synagogues.
Wow.
He's sending a really clear message here.
Of a tolerance.
Yeah, tolerance, inclusion.
I mean, that's pretty remarkable,
It is.
especially for a conqueror.
Yeah.
Especially one who came to power through such a violent conflict.
Yeah, it suggests a level of pragmatism that we don't always associate with military leaders.
It challenges that whole clash of civilizations narrative that we often hear about this period.
Yeah, Professor Baer really emphasizes that, the reality was far more nuanced.
Okay.
There was conflict, but there was also cooperation, exchange, this blending of cultures happening.
It makes you wonder, what role did Mehmed envision for Constantinople within this, vast expanding empire?
That's a great question. I mean, was it simply a symbol of conquest, or did he see it as something more?
A bridge between East and West, perhaps?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's likely he saw it as both
Okay.
Constantinople's strategic location, controlling those vital trade routes, made it an economic powerhouse,
Right.
but it also held immense symbolic value.
Yeah.
It represented the Ottomans' newfound status, on the world stage.
And they weren't shy about projecting that power.
Oh, no, they weren't shy at all.
Professor Baer details their expansion into the Red Sea,
Right.
the conquest of Cairo, Mecca, Medina. They even pushed as far as Indonesia.
It's a truly vast empire.
It's mind-boggling to think that, the fall of one city
Yeah,
could have such a ripple effect,
I know. It's incredible, right? And it highlights the interconnectedness of the world even back then.
even back then.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that Professor Baer points out that the Ottomans actually saw themselves as successors to the Roman Empire.
They did.
They adopted the title of Caesar.
Yeah.
They incorporated Byzantine administrative practices.
They saw themselves as heirs to that tradition of imperial rule.
It wasn't just about conquering territory for them.
No, it was about claiming a legacy,
Wow.
positioning themselves within this historical
They
continuum.
were very consciously engaging with the past.
They were reinterpreting it and weaving it into their own narrative.
So it wasn't this clean break
No,
between the Byzantine and Ottoman eras.
no, it's much more complex than that.
It's a transition with these elements of continuity
Absolutely.
alongside all this change.
And that complexity is evident in the cultural realm as well.
Okay.
Constantinople under Ottoman rule becomes this vibrant melting pot of cultures and religions.
Okay.
Now, Islam was the dominant faith, of course,
Right.
but Christian and Jewish communities, they continued to thrive.
Wow. So it wasn't this sort of monolithic, religious landscape.
Not at all. It was very diverse.
It sounds like a very cosmopolitan atmosphere.
It was.
Professor Baer talks about bustling markets,
Right.
diverse neighborhoods, all these intellectual exchanges taking place.
It's quite different from the image that we often have,
Yeah.
of a rigid Islamic society.
Yeah, for sure.
And that cosmopolitanism extended to the ruling class as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Ottoman elite, they embraced aspects of Byzantine culture,
Interesting.
incorporated them into their own traditions and practices.
Yeah, it's more about assimilation and adaptation than
Exactly.
not erasure.
It speaks to that same kind of approach that we saw with Mehmed weeping upon entering the city.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that acknowledgement of the past,
That of respect for the past.
even while forging ahead with this new vision.
It suggests a certain level of sensitivity and empathy,
Yeah, it does.
which again, you wouldn't necessarily expect.
From a conqueror known for his ruthlessness.
Yeah. It's another reminder that history is full of surprises,
It is.
that even the most straightforward narratives often have these layers of complexity.
Right. And speaking of contradictions,
Yeah.
we can't overlook the fact that the fall of Constantinople also had its share of negative consequences,
Right.
particularly for the perception of Muslims in the West.
That's right. Professor Baer points out that, those fleeing Byzantine scholars,
Yeah.
They painted a very negative picture of the Ottomans.
And that contributed to, stereotypes and prejudices that unfortunately persist today.
Yeah. It's a reminder of how history can be used for, for propaganda purposes, essentially.
Absolutely.
How narratives can be shaped
Right.
to serve particular agendas.
And often at the expense of truth and understanding.
It's a sobering reminder of the importance of critical thinking,
It is.
especially when we're encountering historical narratives.
Especially when they seem to fit a little too neatly into preconceived notions.
Right, because the reality is always more nuanced,
Always.
more multifaceted.
And, even as the fall of Constantinople cast this long shadow of fear and misunderstanding,
Yeah.
it also led to increased interaction and exchange between East and West.
Right, because the Ottoman Empire now controls these vital trade routes.
Yeah.
And European merchants are, eager to access the riches of the East.
Yeah, that economic imperative drove increased contact,
Okay.
which led to a gradual shift in perceptions, at least among some segments of European society.
So while some clung to these old fears and prejudices,
Yeah.
others were developing a more, nuanced understanding
Right, a more balanced understanding
of the Ottoman world.
of their culture, their people, their goods.
It's a reminder that history is rarely a simple story of progress or decline.
No, it's this messy, often contradictory process of interaction, adaptation, and change.
And the story of Constantinople really embodies that complexity perfectly.
It does.
It's a story of conquest, yes,
Yeah.
but also transformation,
Yeah.
cultural exchange,
Yeah.
the emergence of new ideas.
New perspectives.
It's a story that still resonates with us today.
It does.
It challenges us to think critically about the past
Absolutely.
and its legacies. Okay, so we've journeyed through the siege, we witnessed the fall, we explored the immediate aftermath, and we've seen how Constantinople began to transform under Ottoman rule. But now I want to talk about like the ripple effects.
Yeah, the echoes of this event that still reach us today.
Exactly.
And that's where it gets really fascinating, because the fall of Constantinople wasn't just about, armies and empires.
Right.
It really was this seismic shift in the world's, cultural and intellectual landscape.
A shift that continues to shape how we understand history and the world we live in.
Exactly.
And one of the most fascinating consequences, I think, is the exodus of Byzantine scholars to Western Europe.
Oh, yeah.
They carried with them this treasure trove of ancient Greek knowledge and texts,
Right.
which really sparked what we now know as the Renaissance.
It's incredible to think about
It-
that a Muslim conquest indirectly contributed to this rebirth of classical learning in the West.
It really highlights, I think, how complex and interconnected history really is.
It does.
The Renaissance, with its emphasis on humanism, art, scientific inquiry,
Yeah.
it owes a debt to these Byzantine scholars.
Who found refuge in the West and brought with them, the wisdom of antiquity.
It's a testament to the enduring power of ideas, I think.
Absolutely. Ideas can transcend borders and even conflict.
But it's important to acknowledge that the fall of Constantinople wasn't without its darker consequences.
Of course.
Professor Baer points out that, it really fueled a lot of negative perceptions of Muslims in the West.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Yeah, it reinforced existing fears and prejudices.
It became a symbol of Islamic aggression
Right.
in the eyes of many, and contributed to this narrative of us versus them
Right.
that shaped Western attitudes towards the Ottoman Empire and towards Islam in general for centuries.
It's a reminder of how historical events can be distorted and manipulated to serve political or ideological purposes.
And often at the expense of truth and understanding.
Yeah, we have to be really careful about that.
We
We
do.
have to be critical thinkers,
Absolutely.
especially when encountering these historical narratives that seem to fit a little too neatly into our preconceived notions.
Right. We have to be wary of those simplistic explanations that reduce these complex events
Yeah.
to just a clash of civilizations or a clash of religions.
Because the reality is always more nuanced and multifaceted.
Always.
And even as the fall of Constantinople cast this long shadow of fear and misunderstanding,
Right.
it also led to, I think, increased interaction and exchange between East and West.
And that's an important point, because the Ottoman Empire, with Constantinople as its capital,
Right.
now controlled these vital trade routes.
Right.
And European merchants were eager to access the riches of the East.
Of course.
So this economic imperative drove increased contact and led to at least a gradual shift in perceptions
Yeah.
among some segments of European society.
So as some people clung to, these old fears and prejudices,
Yeah.
others were developing a more nuanced understanding
Right, a more balanced perspective
of the Ottoman world.
of their culture, their people, their goods.
It's a reminder that history is rarely a simple story of progress or decline.
Yeah, it's messy.
It
It's
is.
often contradictory.
It's a process of interaction, adaptation, and change.
And the story of Constantinople embodies that complexity perfectly.
It really does.
It's a story of conquest, yes,
Right.
but also transformation, cultural exchange,
Yeah.
the emergence of new ideas and new perspectives.
It's a story that I think continues to resonate with us even today.
It does.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the fall of Constantinople, what are some key takeaways that you would leave our listeners with?
I think the most important takeaway is recognizing that history isn't this static, monolithic entity.
Right.
It's a living, breathing tapestry woven from countless threads
Yeah.
of human experience, ambition, conflict, cooperation.
And cultural exchange.
The fall of Constantinople was a turning point.
Absolutely.
It was a moment of profound change. But its legacy is far more multifaceted than just a simple tale of, victory and defeat.
It's a story that continues to unfold, I think,
It does.
revealing new layers of meaning and relevance.
As we grapple with the complexities of our own time.
So rather than viewing history as this distant, irrelevant past,
Right?
we should see it as a source of insight, a
Absolutely.
wellspring of stories and lessons,
That can illuminate our present
and guide us toward a more nuanced and compassionate understanding of the world.
and our place within it.
Yeah, that's beautifully said.
By engaging with history in a thoughtful and critical way,
Yeah.
we can gain a deeper appreciation for the forces that have shaped our world,
The challenges we face.
the possibilities that lie before us.
We can learn from the mistakes of the past
We can celebrate its triumphs.
and draw inspiration from the resilience and creativity of those who came before us.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this fascinating journey.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fall of Constantinople.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving into the rich tapestry of human history.
See you then.
Take care.